Hi everyone, this is Ismail again. Now I'm going to show you the practical part. So the practical question starts: configure a multi-valued attribute for identity. Define identity attribute name, cost number, which is a multi-valued attribute. So the answer for this question is it's like creating an extended attribute with multi-value. So the step to create this attribute is first create a new attribute and set multi-value in HR. Second step, discover schema in application definition. Third step, add a new attribute in identity mapping. Fourth step, add attribute in UI configuration in debug page. Fifth step, add source mapping in identity mapping. So this is a step to create this multi-value attribute. So let's see the practical part. The first part is create multi-value attitude and set value in HR. Let's see that. So we go to our HR source. So you see the attribute name is cost number. So we set the value multi-value. It's not a single value like 89, 12, like this and so on. So we already set this multi-value attribute. Second step will be discover schema. Where do we discover our schema? We go to application definition, and then we select the HR. Because our application is HR. So configure. Here under configuration, we have schema. Click schema. Then we have to click discover schema. When we discover schema, we have to see the new attribute we have set in the HR portals. So let's preview our schema. You see, as you have seen, it looks like this, our schema. So cost number is already discovered, this attribute. Okay, the third step will be add new attribute in identity mapping. So for this, we go to global setting, identity map, and then we have to add new attribute for this multi-valued attribute. So as you have seen, I already create cost number. You see, this is the third step. The fourth step is going to be add new attribute in UI configuration. So we already add this new attribute in the identity mapping, and then the third step will be in the debug page. Let's go to debug page, open, and then UI configuration, and then here Control F, view attribute. You see here identity view attribute. So the list of our attributes, as you have seen, I said cost number in here. So we have to save this, and then we already set up the new attribute. So in order to see this multi value in identity warehouse, we have to map the source. So how do we do that? This is the last step. You go to global setting, identity mapping. We click our cost number, and then we have to map. You see, as we have seen, the cost number from HR source our application. We already map it. How do we map it? Add the source. You see here, we select HR, and then after that, we select HR application. After that, we select the value, the attribute cost number. This is how we set up. So I already set this up, and then finally we have to save this. Then we have to run the tasks. First, we have to run this HR in order to get the updated data, and we have to make sure HR is aggregated. Yeah, this task is successful. So the second task is the refresh identity queue. Refresh identity queue, execute. Okay, this is the result. So it's now coming. Let's do it again. Refresh identity queue. Refresh identity queue task. Here. Okay. You see, it's successful. Refresh identity queue is successful. Now, finally, uh, we have to validate our attribute, multi-valued attribute in the identity warehouse. So we go to here, we click one of the identity, and then let's see whether it's set up or not. You see, the attribute name is cost number, the value is multi-value, 33, 44, 55, So we are successfully set up the multi-value attribute in the identity. So this is the first practical question. So the second question will be, so the second question, it says configure setting in HR source in which I need to filter the record which starts with double backslash. So this means we have to filter one record. So the first step is we go to the HR source, we put this double slash. So our intention is in order to filter this record not to be aggregated or synchronized in sailPoint. So for this filter, we have to configure or set up in the application definition. So let's go to application definition. Our application is HR. So in order to filter that record, go to configuration. And then here, as you have seen, there is filtering. Let's click the filtering string. So here we define the statement to filter that specific record. So as you have seen, employee ID is equal to double backslash control 012. This one should be filtered. So I already set up this, and then we have to save. Then let's see whether. So the second step will be we have to, as we have to aggregate the task, which is the HR aggregation, in order to update the data. Then after aggregation, we have to validate whether this record is filtered or not. Let's see. You see, we don't have that control double slash one two record. It's filtered. It's not aggregated because we already write the logic to filter this specific record. As you have seen, it's not synchronized or aggregated based on the logic we defined in the application definition, which is filtering. So the third question will be the third question: define a new extended attribute for identity and name is as user type, and all the user aggregation from HR associate this value as test user. So the third question is the same as with the first question. So this is extended attribute. So the step will be the same. Create a new attribute in HR, discover schema, add a new attribute in identity mapping, add new attribute in UI configuration, and add the source. The same as the first question, the step is the same. So I already showed you how do we set up this. So let's see. First, we go to HR, our HR. You see, the attribute name is user type. So all the value is the same for all identities. Test user, it's already set up. The second step will be we have to discover the schema for this application because we need the schema. As you have seen here, configuration, schema. You see, we already discovered the schema, user type. So we have to save this. So the second step will be, the third step will be add the new attribute in the identity warehouse. We go to identity warehouse. We have to add this new attribute because it's not out of the box identity mapping. As you have seen, we have to add attribute and then we'll get this new attribute user type like this because it was not out of the box attribute, so we have to add this attribute. So the third step will be we have to set this attribute in the debug page. The same step in the debug page. So we go to debug page, UI configuration, and then Control F. So attribute view attribute. You see here we set this attribute in the debug page user type. So we have to save this also. Then the last step will be we have to source the map. What is the source? Global setting identity mapping. We select this particular attribute user type, and then we have to add the source. The source is HR, and then the attribute is user type. It's already set up. So the last step will be we have to go to setup, task, and then we have to aggregate our data, which is the HR data. Then the last step will be we have to aggregate. We have to execute the identity refresh identity queue. Refresh identity queue. The last step again would be we have to validate whether this attribute is set up in the identity warehouse or not. Identity warehouse. Let's see our new attribute. Okay, let's click one of the identities. This is the attribute username, first name, last name for this identity. So you see, as you have seen, user type is already set up. The value is test user. So we already set up this extended attribute successfully. Let's go to the next question. The next question will be the first one. Test demo. Okay. So the first question is define a role, business and IT role, and the logic behind this role assignment is all the user from the department finance should have this role. So here the question is, first we have to configure role, which is business role and IT role. After we create this IT role and business role, we have to assign this new role for the finance department. That's the question. So let's configure this. So first we go to the sailPoint application and then set up roles. Okay, roles. Here we have, I already created uh, 3 roles. Okay, one of them are test demo submit. You see, under test demo submit, I already set up the IT role. Let's open the test demo submit role. This is, as you have seen, this is the business role. The name is test demo submit. The role type is business role. So in the business role, we have to define the assignment. Here, there is the assignment rule in which we can define the logic. So the logic here is match list, add attribute. So the attribute is department. So department, now we are going to define the logic. So department is equal to finance. So for the finance department, this business role will be assigned. Based on this logic, it will be assigned. So we have already created this business role. So how do we create IT role? As you have seen here, I already create the IT role. So let's see how I create the IT role. So as you have seen, IT test demo 2, the type is IT role. As you have seen, the type is IT. And then in here, most of the time, the business role contains the IT role. The IT role contains collection of entitlement. Here, in order to, here we have to inherit the test demo submit, the business role. So in order to configure the hierarchy to make IT role under business role, here we come here and then we inherit the business role into the IT role. So the hierarchy will be set up. So the entitlement will be set up here. Add, here is entitlement, and we add the entitlement, whatever we want, and then we save this. So this way, our business role is set up. Test demo is a business role. Test demo 2 is the IT role. So we already defined the role assignment, which is department equal to finance. So now we have to validate this assignment. In order to validate this assignment, we have to run the task, which is the identity refresh identity with refresh role. Let's see, let's open this refresh identity cube, and then after we have to mark, we have to enable in refresh identity cube. Here click edit. So here, in order to assign this role, we have to mark, you see, as you have seen, refresh assigned, detected roles, and promote additional entitlements. This must be marked in order to assign this role for the finance department. Then we have to save and execute. After this, we have to validate whether this role is assigned or not. So now let's go to identity warehouse. Let's find an identity with finance department. So let's see this one, control demo 16. So as you have seen, demo 16, the department is finance. You see, finance department. So all the identity with finance department should be assigned this business role. Let's see the entitlement. You see, under entitlement, test demo submit role is assigned for demo 16 because demo 16 is from finance department. So we already successfully create the role and assign for the finance department based on our assign logic. Now let's go to the next question. The next question will be, in real time, explain the rehire use case and configure an event for the same in sailPoint. So now it's going to be about the life cycle event, which is rehire. Okay, fifth one. So it's going to be like the more concept of rehiring is restoring identity, reactivating account, updating identity information, reviewing and adjusting entitlement, configure the lifecycle event or the workflow, which is reinstate event. This is the main idea of configuring the rehire lifecycle event. So practically, let's go to the applications. So go to setup. First, as you have seen here, the first logic would be restoring identity. For this, we have to set up, we have to configure the HR. Let's say, as you have seen, when somebody leaves, so the status will be inactive. The status will be inactive, like this true, you see, true. So when somebody get back, it will be, it should be false. This means the user going to be active. So for this logic, as you have seen, control 2, it was, this one was like, now this one is inactive. Let's configure, let's make this control 3, make it, now it is for, it's true. This means this is terminated, this user is inactive or terminated. Now if we change this data from true to false, this means if we make it false, this means the active. So the identity is going to be active. So let's change this data. Okay, into this is, let's make it false. The user is demo 16. Demo 16 is here inactive. Now we're going to make it active. This means the user become rehired. Control paste. Now we change demo 16 active. We make it active. So after the HR source make it active, we have to aggregate it. So let's aggregate. So let's save this data first. And then we go to the sailPoint. Okay, after we go to sailPoint, we have to aggregate this data. First, I want to show you this inactive user. You see, demo 16 is now inactive. So after we configure this lifecycle event rehire, it should be active. Now it is inactive. This means the user was terminated. So after we rehire, it should be active. This is how we validate it finally. So let's go to sailPoint. Let's aggregate the change, task, HR aggregation. Let's see the result. HR aggregation is aggregated. Okay, then after aggregation, what we're going to do, we have to set up the life cycle event. When a user is rehired, this rehired life cycle event will be triggered. Okay, so now let's see rehire. See, you see this rehire event, rehire instead. You see rehire instead. Let's open this one. You see here we set up the rehire event. So rehire event, the name is rehire event. So event type is attribute change. Attribute is inactive. So previous value was true. This means it was terminated. The user was terminated. It was true. Inactive was true. This means it was terminated. Now new value filter is false. This means so the user become active. So it is rehired. This is the logic behind this life cycle event. So we have to set up the business process or the workflow. The workflow for this rehire is life cycle event reinstate. As you have seen from this list, we have to set up life cycle event reinstate. Then we have to save it. So as you have seen, this rehire event is already set up. The owner is the administrator. So it is not disabled. This means this event is already active. It's not disabled. This is active. So when the system detect this rehire event, it will be triggered, and then we will see the change in the target application also because the provisioning plan is already set up. So let's see, let's validate our value, identity, identity warehouse. So based on our, we have to see control 3. You see, the first row, control 3 demo 16, it was inactive now. Let's see. You see now, it was here, inactive was true, but now it is false. This means this user is active, as you have seen demo 16 is active. That's how we set up. So now, because this live event is triggered, so it becomes active. This identity is successfully synchronized in identity warehouse, so it becomes active. This identity is now active. Let's see how in the target application, which is in the track application. So how, let's see the account. It was inactive. Now, first let's run the refresh identity cube. Then we'll see the result. Okay, refresh identity cube. Execute. Okay, this is the result. No, it's not executed. So let's see refresh identity cube. Refresh identity cube. Refresh identity cube. Okay, refresh identity cube. This one. So this is refresh identity cube. So let's save and execute. Okay. Now this is successful. Now let's validate our value from the track application, whether the account is active now or inactive. You see, now this is inactive, right? Let's refresh it. So when we refresh, select sailPoint track.user. Yes, you see, demo 16, it was inactive here. The status was inactive. Now, after rehire or rehire life cycle event is triggered, it becomes active now from the HR or target applications. So we already set up everything successfully. Rehire life cycle event looks like this. So the next question will be, the next question explain the setting where we can configure email setting, means where configuration reside which responsible for email triggered from sailPoint. So how do we configure email? So let's see. We go to global setting, identity IQ configuration. So configuration identity IQ. So as you have seen here, mail setting. So here we can set up our email. Mail notification type, SMTP, encryption, every detail, username, password, configure password, everything. So here we can configure our email. This part is email template type, email templates, server root path for reminder notes, everything is here. So the place we configure our email is here. Global setting, identity configuration, and mail setting. This is the place. Okay, this is the sixth question. And then the seventh question is, where can you check the version of sailPoint and other application detail in your via browser? So in my application, my sailPoint application, in order to check the sailPoint version and other applications versions, so first we go to debug page. Then here see there is about. So in the let's open this about. So as you have seen it, about identity IQ, server date, server information, and production information. As you have seen, the version 8.2 is the version. This is my sailPoint version. We can see the Java version. You see, as you have seen, 17 Java version is 17. You can see different things here. So this is a place where we see the version of the sailPoint and other applications. I think this would be the last question for practical questions. So the rest questions are the theoretical question. I already make a video for these theoretical questions last time. Thank you for watching.